Daniel had always been the quiet kind, a man who kept his feelings hidden, a man who spoke less but felt more. He grew up in a small American town where life was simple, predictable, and slow. A place where people didn't dream big, but Daniel did. He dreamed of a better future, a better life, and most importantly, he dreamed of Amy. Amy was the complete opposite of him. Bright, cheerful, full of life. The type of girl whose presence could turn an ordinary day into something special. Her smile carried a warmth that Daniel could never explain, but always felt. Their story started quietly, gently, in a small bookstore where Daniel worked part-time. Amy visited almost every evening, holding a cup of coffee and flipping through her favorite books. One day, she walked up to Daniel and asked, "Do you have anything that feels like hope?" Daniel was surprised, but he smiled softly and handed her a novel. And from that moment, something changed. It was like their hearts recognized each other before their minds did. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months, and their bond grew deeper without either of them noticing how fast it happened. But love wasn't Daniel's only companion. Fear was too. Daniel felt he wasn't enough for her. Not successful enough. Not stable enough. Not good enough. Amy would always tell him, "You are enough. You've always been enough for me." But Daniel couldn't believe it. Not when his own thoughts were louder than her words. One evening, Amy started talking about the future. A home, a career, a life full of dreams. Daniel listened quietly, but inside, he felt himself breaking. He didn't see himself in that future. He felt like a burden, like a mistake waiting to happen. That night, Daniel made the worst decision of his life. Daniel left, without a note, without a message, without a goodbye. The next morning, Amy tried calling him. His phone was off. She checked the bookstore, his friends, the neighborhood, but Daniel had disappeared from her life completely. Her world froze in that moment. Her laughter, her warmth, her hope, all shattered into pieces. Every night, she asked herself the same question, "What did I do wrong?" But no answer ever came. Daniel's nights were no easier. In a new city, far away from the only person he ever loved, Daniel was alive, but not living. He tried drowning himself in work, tried ignoring the memories, tried forgetting her. But every night, Amy's voice echoed in his mind. Her laugh, her touch, her soft goodnight. He missed her in a way words could never explain. Yet he believed he had no right to go back. No courage to face her. No strength to admit he was wrong. So he lived each day in silence, punishing himself with memory. Weeks turned into months, and Amy slowly learned how to live with the ache Daniel left behind. But living wasn't the right word. She was simply surviving. Every morning, she would pass by the bookstore, not to buy anything, not to meet anyone, just to feel close to the memories she once shared with him. Her friends noticed the change in her, the quietness, the forced smiles, the shadows under her eyes. One day, her closest friend, Lily, said, "Amy, you deserve someone who chooses you every day, not someone who disappears." But Amy wasn't angry, not even hurt at Daniel. She was only confused. "People don't leave without a reason," she whispered. "And if he left, he must have been hurting more than I realized." Amy held on to that thought, not because it healed her, but because it made the pain easier to bear. Someone on the other side of the country, Daniel was losing the fight against his own thoughts. Every night, he sat by the window of his small apartment, staring at the empty street below. No cars, no sound, just silence. The same silence he had gifted to Amy. His new job paid well. The city was bigger, the life faster, But none of it mattered. He carried Amy in every heartbeat. He remembered her voice when the world felt too loud. He remembered her smile when everything seemed dark. He remembered her touch when loneliness became unbearable. One night, Daniel received a message from an old friend back home. Just a simple line: "She still waits for you, even if she won't admit it." Daniel froze. His chest tightened, his eyes burned, and for the first time in months, he spoke her name out loud. Amy. It felt like breaking, like bleeding, like waking up after a long nightmare. Guilt devoured him. He left because he thought he wasn't good enough. But now, he realized something worse. He wasn't just running from his fears. He was running from the one person who would have faced them with him. Daniel buried his face in his hands. He tried to breathe, but the weight of his regret was too heavy. Every part of him whispered the same truth: "I should have stayed." But fate was not finished with them yet. Life had a strange way of bringing broken hearts back into the same path. And soon, very soon, a moment was coming that neither Daniel nor Amy could ever forget. 3 months later, Amy finally gathered the courage to do something she'd been avoiding. She booked a solo trip. Not to find herself, not to escape her memories, but to breathe again. She chose a quiet coastal town, a place where the ocean spoke louder than her thoughts, where sunsets didn't remind her of what she'd lost. On her first evening there, Amy sat on the sand, watching the waves crash gently, as if the ocean was trying to wash away her pain. For the first time in months, she whispered a small prayer: "Whoever is meant for me, bring them back, or bring me peace." The wind carried her words away. Meanwhile, Daniel made a decision of his own. After months of silence, he realized what distance really meant. Not freedom, not healing, but losing the only person who ever made him feel like he mattered. He packed his bags, quit the job he had sacrificed everything for, and bought a bus ticket to the same coastal town where Amy was Sally. A place he had no idea she had chosen. Maybe it was coincidence, maybe destiny, maybe something in between. But both of them were now traveling toward the same horizon, without knowing they were steps away from rewriting their story. The night everything changed. Amy walked along the wooden boardwalk, her hair dancing with the sea breeze, her heart a little lighter than before. She stopped at a small cafe with warm lights and soft music floating out the windows. Just as she stepped inside, she froze, because across the room, sitting alone at a corner table, hands wrapped around a cup of coffee he wasn't drinking, was Daniel. Her breath escaped her. Her heart forgot its rhythm. Her mind whispered the name she hadn't allowed herself to say. Daniel? He looked up slowly, and when their eyes met, it was like the world stopped spinning. The cafe noise faded. The music blurred. Daniel stood up. His voice cracked the moment he spoke. "Amy, I didn't come here to ask for forgiveness. I came because life without you isn't life." Her eyes filled with tears, not of pain, but of shock, of relief, of something that felt dangerously close to hope. But she didn't move toward him, not yet. Some wounds were too deep for quick answers. Fate had brought them to the same place, but the choice to rewrite their love story still belonged to both of them. And the night was far from over. For a long moment, Daniel and Amy just stood there, two people with 1,000 memories and 1,000,000 unsaid words caught between them. Amy finally spoke first. Her voice was steady, but her eyes were trembling. "Why now, Daniel? Why come back after everything?" Daniel swallowed hard. He wasn't the same man who walked away months ago. His voice carried regret, but also a truth he could no longer hide. "Because I lied, Amy." She blinked, confused. "About what?" "Stars." The confession that broke her breath. Daniel took a slow step closer. "I said I needed space, but the truth is, I was scared." Amy's eyebrows lowered. "Scared of what?" He exhaled deeply, like a man finally freeing a buried truth. "Scared of how much you mattered to me. Scared of losing myself. But in trying to protect myself, I lost you." Her heart twisted. Pain, recognition, and something like understanding. Amy lowered her gaze. "You hurt me, Daniel. You made me feel like I wasn't enough." Daniel's eyes softened with ache. "You were more than enough. I was the one who wasn't ready, and I hate that you suffered because of my fear." Amy's side of the story, finally spoken. Amy gently touched the edge of the table beside her, trying to steady the emotions rising inside. "You don't know what it was like, Daniel, waking up and not hearing from you. Every day wondering what I did wrong." Her voice cracked, the pain of months echoing through her words. Daniel stepped closer again, but not close enough to touch her. He respected the space she needed. "I know." His voice was barely a whisper. "And that's why I'm here, to face every mistake I made, to hear every word you need to say, even if it hurts." Star. The moment she almost broke, Amy looked up, eyes shining. "Then tell me one thing, Daniel." He waited. Her voice trembled as she asked, "Did you ever love me?" The world quieted. The cafe blurred. Time held its breath. Daniel didn't hesitate. Not this time. He stepped forward, close enough for her to feel his warmth. "Amy, I never stopped." A tear slipped down her cheek. She wanted to believe him. A part of her did. But another part still bled from the past. Star. A choice in her hands. Amy took a step back, not rejecting him, but giving herself room to think. If this is real, if you're truly here to fix things. She paused, gathering her courage. "Then don't rush me. Let me heal at my pace." Daniel nodded instantly. "I'll wait, for as long as you need." And for the first time in months, Amy's heart felt something gentle. Not forgiveness, not certainty, but possibility. For the next few days, Daniel and Amy didn't try to force anything. They didn't talk about getting back together. They didn't talk about the past every minute. Instead, they simply tried to rediscover the people they once were, before everything fell apart. A slow beginning. Daniel texted her in the mornings. Not long messages, not emotional paragraphs, just simple things like, "Hope you have a smooth day today. Drive safe. Did you eat anything?" And Amy, for the first time in months, replied without hesitation. There was still distance, but it was no longer cold. There was space, but it wasn't filled with silence. It was a new rhythm, gentle, patient, careful. The coffee shop therapy. 3 days later, Amy invited him to meet again. This time, she was the one who suggested the cafe. When Daniel walked in, he found her already sitting there, hair tied back, sleeve rolled up, fingers tapping the coffee cup like she was thinking too much. She looked up and gave a small, cautious smile. Daniel smiled back like the entire world just softened for him. They sat. No rush, no pressure. Just two people trying to learn each other again. Star, the question he didn't expect. After a moment of quiet, Amy looked at him seriously. "Daniel, tell me something honestly." He nodded. "Do you think people really change?" Daniel leaned back, thinking carefully before answering. "I think people don't suddenly become different, but they become aware. And awareness changes everything." Amy studied his face, as if searching for any lie, any hesitation. She found none. Amy's turn to open up. Amy sighed deeply, rubbing her thumb over the coffee cup. "You know, I used to think if someone loved you, they would never leave. Her voice softened, barely above a whisper. But then you left. Daniel's breath caught. He didn't interrupt her. I spent months trying to understand why, and one day, I realized something. She looked up, eyes glimmering. Maybe love isn't about someone staying. Maybe it's about someone returning, and finally choosing you for the right reasons. Daniel felt something in his chest break open, a mixture of guilt, gratitude, and an emotion he no longer knew how to hide. Daniel's promise, quiet but powerful. Daniel leaned forward, voice steady and sincere. Amy, I'm not here to repeat the past. I'm here to rewrite it. I'm not asking for anything from you. Not today, not tomorrow, He paused, looking directly into her eyes. But I need you to know one thing. Amy's breath held. I'm not afraid anymore. Something warm flickered inside her, a feeling she thought had died. A step closer. They walked out of the cafe together. For the first time, their footsteps matched again. Amy didn't take his hand, but she didn't move away either. And Daniel, for once, was okay with taking things slow. Because healing takes time, trust takes consistency, and love, real love, takes courage. And for the first time in months, they both had it. A week passed. A week of calm messages, honest conversations, and small steps forward. Nothing dramatic, nothing forced. Just two people slowly finding the courage to face the truth they ran from. The invitation. On a quiet Sunday afternoon, Daniel received a message from Amy. Can we talk? At my place? His heart stopped. Talking at her place meant this wasn't just another casual meeting. It meant something big, something final, something defining. Daniel took a deep breath and drove there, hands trembling slightly on the wheel. The apartment full of memories. When Amy opened the door, Daniel froze, because everything inside looked the same. The couch they picked together, the little plant he always forgot to water, the photo frame, still lying face down after the breakup. Amy stepped back and motioned him in. Her voice was calm, but her eyes were nervous. I think we need to finish our conversation properly this time. The truth Amy had been holding back. They sat across from each other, not too close, not too far. Amy inhaled slowly. Daniel, I need to tell you something I never said. He listened, heart pounding. Amy continued, when you left, I wasn't angry because you walked away. I was angry because you didn't give me the chance to fight for us. Daniel looked down, guilt tightening his chest. I thought I was doing the right thing, he whispered. I know, she replied softly, but love doesn't need perfection. It needs honesty. Her, and we were never honest, not with each other, not with ourselves. Daniel finally breaks his silence. Daniel leaned forward, his voice raw, unshielded. Amy, I left because I thought you deserved better than a man who didn't know how to communicate. He met her eyes. But the truth is, I never stopped loving you, not for 1 second. Amy swallowed hard, her eyes shimmered. The decision she had to make. Amy stood up slowly and walked toward the window, looking outside like she was searching for clarity. After a long moment, she turned around. Daniel, I don't want the old version of us. Silence. Daniel's heart dropped. But then, Amy stepped closer. I want the version. I want the version where we talk, where we listen, where we actually try. Daniel looked at her, really looked, and saw the same hope he used to cherish. She continued, if we start again, it won't be because we're scared of being alone. It'll be because we're brave enough to choose each other again. The reunion. Daniel stood up, and for a moment, they just looked at each other. Two hearts, carrying years of pain, healing, and finally, acceptance. Then Amy moved first. She stepped forward, and gently placed her hand on his chest. Daniel placed his hand over hers. Neither spoke. They didn't need words anymore, because their silence carried every answer, every apology, every confession, every feeling they had tried so hard to bury. Amy whispered, "Let's start again, slow, but together." Daniel nodded, voice trembling. Together. A new beginning, not perfect, but real. They didn't kiss, they didn't rush, they didn't pretend everything was fixed overnight. They simply hugged, a long, quiet, healing hug that said more than words ever could. Because sometimes the biggest happy ending is just two people finally choosing each other with honesty, courage, and a heart that refuses to give up.